All right, I think we're live. Hi, Emily.
Hi, Rosalie. Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone. So happy to see you here, and it's really fun seeing where everyone is from. Wherever someone comes in from, I feel like I have a connection there. Both Emily and I have big connections to Texas, seeing a couple people from there. And it's always fun to see people from outside of the country too. I know it's much later in Spain, so thanks for being here, Fanny. And so we are going to get officially started like more closer to on the hour, but we knew some people were here and we're here. So we just wanted to jump on and say hi to you all. And Aruba, nice.
Wow.
That, of course, just immediately puts that song in my head though. Beach Boys. I was just like instant Beach Boys song. Emily's like, no, that's not BTS. So I don't know what you're talking about. Fort Worth. I have lots of ties to Fort Worth. My sister's in Arlington. Nice. Utah. I've spent some time in Utah myself. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Wales. Nice.
Wow.
I'm reading this interesting book right now about riding wild, and it's women writers about nature. It's a really cool book. There's interesting, some people from Wales. There's interesting stories about walking in nature. All right. Thank you so much, all, for being here. Again, we'll get started in just a moment officially, but we just thought we'd jump on and say hi to everyone. I guess we could start giving kind of a preview of what we're going to do today. This is an informal thing. This is not scripted, if you can't tell already, but we have been meeting and putting thought into it. So we are going to take good care of you, give you lots of valuable information. And we have this a class that we're going to give on herbal vinegars. And when did we decide that it was going to be herbal vinegars? It was like Thursday or so.
Yeah, it was just because so many people wrote in questions after the webinar wanting to know about herbal vinegars. So we thought, okay, that sounds like something that enough people would like to know about. We could put something together.
Yeah. So we've been working on it since then, and I'm really excited. I was like excited that other people were excited about vinegar.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite topics. So
yeah, I was telling Emily this yesterday or the day before that I learned to make herbal vinegars and I made them from time to time, but it was really Emily that inspired me to totally fall head over heels. And I feel like that's really culminated in the past year, that I'm more obsessed with herbal vinegars than I ever have been. So so it's a topic that we both love. And we have some pretty pictures to show you. We're going to give you information about herbal vinegars, and so we'll have information in that regards. We're also here for Q&A. So if you have questions about the herbal preparations webinar and something in there you have a question about, you can put that in the chat box. And if you have questions about Rooted Medicine Circle, we're here to answer those questions. That's our brand new course that we're enrolling for this week. And so it'll be informal. So we'll kind of have a presentation, we'll answer questions and see how things go. Because we're expecting a lot of people, we want to keep things on topic. So kind of on topic is like herbal medicine vinegars, Rooted Medicine Circle. And we definitely are here to answer your questions. The format we were using with the herbal preparations webinar didn't allow us to have that live interaction. So that's what we're here today, to answer your questions. And we have some show and tell. And later on, we're also going to show you inside Rooted Medicine Circle. So we'll show you what it looks like in there, which I'm excited about. And so thank you all for being here. Thanks for your enthusiasm and excitement. And anything else to add, Emily, before we get started?
I don't think so. Yeah, I was just catching up on where everyone's from. So everybody.
Yeah, maybe I'll just give people a heads up too. So we have all these wonderful comments coming in, people saying where they're from, which is wonderful. And you put your comments in there. Some people are watching on YouTube. Some people are watching on Facebook. We have Karen behind the scenes, and she's helping us gather those questions up. So she'll be taking questions and kind of putting them in this other channel so that we can see the questions. And if you answer a question and you feel like it's on topic and we're not getting it to us, don't be afraid to ask it again, because sometimes things are moving so fast, it's hard to keep up, but we really want to answer your questions. So Yeah, I think we're a couple minutes after the hour. So with that introduction, should we get started with our presentation?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's cross our fingers, and I'm going to push all these buttons, and it's going to work out great. This has been tested, so. All right, how does that look, Emily?
Looks good, Rosalie.
Okay, great. Just so you all know, I can't see anything but my slides now, so that's why I got to ask. Looks good. All right, so herbal vinegars. We are really excited to talk about this topic. One, because it's something that we got asked about a lot, so we know lots of people are wondering about it, but also because it's kind of an unsung herbal preparation, and I think that that's changing. But herbal vinegars are so incredibly versatile. We're going to talk about all the different ways you can use them, but it's kind of like there's so many different ways you can use them that there's something for everybody with herbal vinegars. Anything to add, Emily?
You covered it.
Okay. Oh, one thing I think is really cool about herbal vinegars is that you can buy herbal vinegars in some places. Emily was telling me that Asian food markets have them, and I know our health food store has just started carrying some. And Emily was telling me that in LA it's really popular, but I know that like in terms of like widespread availability, there's not a lot of, that you can buy out there. So it is something that most people will need to make themselves, but it's also something that you're going to want to make yourself because and this is often the case, right? But what you make at home is going to be way better than what you buy at the store.
Yeah, even if you can buy it, oftentimes it's really expensive, or again, it's just so much fun to customize it yourself, with all the ingredients that you're using and according to the seasons. And yeah, it's just, I can't imagine why you wouldn't want to make your own because it's too much fun. So
yeah, fun, easy. Yeah. I was telling Emily how right now we're going to share this recipe later, but I've made over a gallon of mandarin evergreen shrub this year. And it's just been my favorite. I've been gifting it to people and drinking it myself and loving it so much. And I just love that, like, I live in a 4 seasons environment, zone 4. And right now I have many feet of snow on the ground. So there's not a lot going on for me plant-wise, but I can still go out right now and mindfully, ethically harvest evergreens and bring them home and make lovely drinks and medicine with them. So I love that. And so I was telling Emily that I was just, giddily excited about it. And Emily, she was telling me like, oh, and I love that I can taste summer right now because yeah, go ahead.
You can make you make different vinegars throughout the year, and so you can enjoy it right then. So if your mandarins or your evergreens are in season, right now, you could enjoy it in the moment, but you could also save it, and 6 months later be tasting that time of year and that day that you gathered those herbs and that you made your vinegar. And so it's such a wonderful way to kind of capture the different seasons in your bottle of vinegar.
Yeah. I made maybe 3 gallons of Tulsi hibiscus oxymel this year. And I've been drinking a lot of that right now, which is so much fun. When I say 3 gallons, I want to assure people I'm also giving that away.
They make great gifts. I think that's one of the favorite things that I give people is, vinegars. So definitely always make extra.
Yeah. It's so easy to make a lot. All right. Well, so we aren't just going to wax on and on about how much we love them. We're going to tell you about them too. But I thought we'd start. We're talking about herbal vinegars, but what is just a vinegar?
Vinegar, yeah. It's something that you buy at the store. Maybe you don't really think about it that much, but vinegar is basically just soured alcohol. So it's something, if you have wine or beer or cider or any type of alcohol, and expose it to oxygen. And then these little microscopic acetobacter bacteria come in, and they basically convert the alcohol into acetic acid. And that's what gives vinegar its sour taste. So I think it's like a natural fermentation process. And it's just so cool that we're kind of, working with these little friendly bacteria that are transforming the alcohol into something else for us to enjoy. So vinegar is basically, anytime people have had any form of alcohol and expose it to oxygen, it could turn into vinegar.
Yeah, and people often buy vinegar. I buy most of my vinegar, but it's actually not that hard to make at home either.
Mhm.
So you can make apple vinegar or all sorts of things. I had people try to make elderberry wine and not have it turn out, and it became really good vinegar. Not what they were known for, but
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
vinegar is one of our oldest. Herbal vinegars, I'd say, is one of our oldest medicine, but even vinegar is used
vinegar.
as its own as medicine.
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, it's you have alcohol, and whether it's like on purpose or just accidental, oftentimes then you end up getting vinegar out of it. So I can imagine, as long as people have been making alcohol, they're probably, vinegar and the little bacteria were around, we've been getting vinegar. And but as far as history, like there are Babylonian scrolls from like 5000 BCE that are mentioning vinegars, and you actually found even traces of vinegar in like Egyptian urns from, I think, 3000 BCE. There's long history of vinegars in China, and so the samurai of Japan were drinking vinegars. The Romans were carrying vinegar around with them. So there's a long history of people drinking vinegar. And I think, the vinegar itself can inhibit the growth of harmful bacteria. So you could add vinegar to your water and make it safe to drink, or the vinegar could be used to preserve, herbs and fruits and vegetables and things like that. So there are a lot of practical reasons to have the vinegar, in addition to the interesting tastes that it brings to your food, or your drinks, or your medicine.
Yeah, and a lot of people become interested in vinegars because it's not alcohol, and I think it's interesting that herbal medicine has been using vinegar as part of medicine longer than it's been using high proof spirits. Vinegar has just been around longer than that. So for anyone feeling like, oh, I can't participate in herbalism because of all this alcohol, it's not necessary. There's a lot of other substances out there, and lots of great herbal preparations that you can do with vinegar.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about why we would want to use the many gifts of herbal vinegars and all that they can impart to us, because as I mentioned, they're so versatile. They can do so many things. And we could start first with the taste of it. Those of you who might have been in Taste of Herbs course with me know all about the sour taste, but vinegar is sour. And that sour taste promotes digestion. An example of that could be, you imagine like biting into a lemon and you feel like you start to salivate. I mean, just thinking about it, I start to kind of salivate. The same thing happens with vinegar, right? It's like that as your salivation increases, creates this whole cascade of digestive things that gets going. So that's kind of one of our very first digestive actions, and tinctures of vinegars can help promote that. Apple cider vinegar especially is known for modulating inflammation. Lots of studies done on that. But the sour taste is also known for that, because many things with sour tastes are really high in antioxidants. We'll talk more about this later, but the vinegars and the sour taste are really cooling, and they also quench thirst. And a classic example of that broadly within the sour taste is lemonade, but something that we also get from vinegars. Vinegar is great for extracting minerals. And so things like stinging nettle, dandelion roots, red clover, oat straw, alfalfa, any of our herbs that are really dense in minerals, high in nutrients, are going to do really well with a vinegar extraction. And how you can use those is you can just take them by the spoonful if you wanted. But what I often do is I use them as salad dressing on salads. So just kind of getting this added benefit. It's so easy to make your own salad dressing, your vinegar, your oil, and it's simplest. And then you can be enjoying that mineral rich quality and getting more herbs into your life via the salad. And here, it's hard to know when to pass it to you, Emily, because I can't see you. Do you want to talk about drinks, Emily?
Sure. Yeah. Drinking vinegars, and if you are not familiar with that, it might seem strange to be drinking vinegar, but that also has a long history and something that lots of people still enjoy today. So you can add some, you could drink it straight, but it tends to be, very harsh, and you don't want to drink too much of it at one time. So you could add some to water, especially sparkling water is really wonderful. Then you have just a really easy, simple, alcohol-free drink that that again is very cooling and thirst quenching. You can add it to cocktails and mocktails. So yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful drink to enjoy as well.
Yeah, that's why one of the reasons I went through so many drinking vinegars this summer is I'd be out in the garden or out from a walk, mowing the lawn. It gets very hot here. It's very hot and dry. And I would often come in just like overheated. And that would be the first thing I reach for is a drinking vinegar. And it's so thirst quenching. I mean, this is like, it's like, you can think of it like Gatorade, but way cooler because it's not Gatorade. But it is that like thirst quenching, cooling drink that just, tastes so delicious and yummy. So that is absolutely delicious. And I thought I wouldn't drink as much of them in the wintertime because they are so cooling. But what I do is like, I'll just be, when I'm feeling hot during the day, like maybe the wood stove has been going all day, I'm feeling hot, or I get back from a walk and I've still been enjoying them. So this is just, and its versatility. We can drink vinegar, but we can also use it topically for all sorts of things. And
pour it on your hair, and then
pour it on your hair.
Great, making a vinegar rinse. You could use something like a straight apple cider vinegar, but also like an herb infused vinegar. The vinegar itself is great for removing like product buildup if you got like shampoo or hair products and things like that. It's also like helps adjust the scalp pH that can make it harder for yeast to flourish. So for some people, it helps with like dandruff. So it's a great thing you could do like once a week or once every couple of weeks is do a nice vinegar rinse in the shower.
Yeah, I used to be on well water, and here where I live, the well water is super hard water. It's just filled with all sorts of minerals. And my hairdresser would tell me regularly, like she knew whether or not I was using vinegar rinses, and she'd remind me, like, I think you need to start using those again more, because she could just feel that buildup of all those minerals on my hair. So that's so many uses for it for the hair. And rosemary, which you see there's often used for vinegar hair rinses, or other mineral rich plants too, like nettles is also very
horsetail is another good one.
Horsetail, yeah. And it's also used topically, and it has been for thousands of years, and used topically for all sorts of things, for medicinal applications like bruises and strains, but also used to, as Emily was mentioning, helps with the pH balance of the scalp. It also does that for the skin. And so it's been used as part of, skincare regimens. It's used, there's lots of formulations out there for using it for things like poison ivy or oak, things that ooze. Sometimes it's infused, you can use vinegar just for that, but you can also use, of course, herbal infused vinegar like mugwort. It's a favorite for that.
Great for sunburns too, things like
sunburns. Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking of that, but that's, that cooling nature, that is, once I started using vinegar for sunburns, no going back. Yeah, it is so helpful for that. Then you can clean with it.
So versatile.
Yeah. So
again, it could be just a straight vinegar, but then you could infuse it with herbs, or like here, citrus peels make a wonderful infused vinegar. It smells good, and also you've got that extra cleaning power from the citrus oils. So that's a great way to use your leftover orange peels and things like that, to infuse the vinegar with that.
I think I'm on year 3 now that is pretty much the only cleaner we use. And I mentioned the hard water that's in my area, that its vinegar is really nice for hard water, just making sure that doesn't build up in the shower tub or whatever. So, but yeah, it's also great for cutting grease. Like I use it for everything from like the stove to counters, the sink to bathroom stuff. So yeah, it's really versatile, and that's all I use. And it's just, pennies to make. And as Emily was mentioning, I'm just using my leftover peels in there. So that's really cool too.
So easy and good way to use your leftovers.
Yeah. And then, last but not least, you can use it as medicine. And vinegar excels for the medicine for the lungs, especially when there's a lot of lung congestion. So, it's like the lungs are just full of mucus, can be sinuses too. But anytime there's, you're needing something special for the lungs. And so lots of medicinal herb preparations using vinegar, and oftentimes honey, the combination of the two with herbs for coughs, congested coughs, feeling, stuck feeling in the lungs. So there's a lot of applications in that. I also really like it as a sore throat gargle. And that is a really, you feel like you have a sore throat coming on, start gargling with vinegar. And I've done that for years. And it's that's a recipe that I've put out there before. And I hear back from so many people like, it sounded weird to gargle vinegar, but once I did it, it was so amazing. So yeah. And I mentioned also, there's the topical applications that can be used as medicine too. And then all those things that we mentioned for the sour taste, promoting digestion, cooling, etc. Anything else to add on that one, Emily?
I think that covers it. That was a few things that you can do with vinegar. Yeah,
just a couple. Yeah, so it's like whether you're like looking entirely for pleasure or for beauty and self-care or for medicine, all there.
Yeah.
All right. So one thing we really wanted to cover is that, vinegars can do so much, but they don't do everything. And one thing that is a constant source of confusion is that people will say that alcohol tinctures and vinegars are the same and they can be used similarly. And sometimes there's confusion because people will call herbal vinegars, they'll call them vinegar tinctures, which isn't really technically correct, but is becoming more and more common. So I think we might just have to give up on that one. But I think it does create confusion because they really aren't similar. That is just a myth out there, which isn't to say one is better or worse than the other, but they have their own gifts. And if you watched the herbal preparations webinar last week, you saw us talk about that, but we had to bring it up again because that was probably one of the most common questions I got this week. Before people saw the webinar, they were asking questions, and that was one of them. And so they aren't really the same because they extract different things. Like vinegars are extracting minerals, and I see I didn't update this slide, so it should say that tinctures and acetums, which is another word for vinegars. It's tinctures and vinegars. They just aren't the same. So vinegars extract those minerals really well, and alcohol absolutely doesn't. So those are two, very different things. Dosages are often different too, because there's just only so much vinegar you can take and only so much alcohol you can take too. But alcohol tends to be a little bit stronger in what it extracts. So generally the dosage for that is a bit lower. And, if you're into recognizing how the tastes of things affect us, alcohol and vinegars taste very differently, right? We have the pungent qualities of alcohol versus that super sour flavor of vinegar. And that just, our bodies react to that differently. And you can experience that yourself by drinking a little bit of alcohol and then comparing that to drinking a little bit of vinegar, and you're just going to feel that difference. And that is translated through medicine. So again, it's not that one is bad and one is good, but they're just different, and how we want to use them is just a bit different as well. Another thing we really wanted to address is vinegar toxic. So I had several people write in asking about that. And vinegar is not toxic. It's what we call generally regarded as safe. It's a food product. One thing is that we do recommend using for internal use, using naturally fermented vinegars as opposed to distilled vinegars, which is generally that like white vinegar commonly sold in grocery stores. So we recommend using naturally fermented vinegars. I went to PubMed today, which is like a database of scientific studies and information. And I went looking to see if there's information about vinegar being toxic. So, well, before I say it's absolutely not toxic, I should check it out, right? So I went and checked it out, and I found one case study of somebody whose tooth enamel had degraded, but they had been drinking a cup of apple cider vinegar every single day for an extended period of time. So with anything, there's moderation. And generally, it's never recommended to drink that much vinegar at a time. And if you are drinking like straight vinegar, you might want to just rinse out your mouth after you drink it. If you're taking like a spoonful or something, that's just kind of sounds like a good idea, but generally in that smaller amount, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to mention this. Vinegar poorly extracts resins. I guess I mentioned it in the preparations webinar. So alcohol is really great at extracting resins, but vinegar doesn't. So that's just kind of an example. So if you have something like cottonwood buds, it's just going to be a different preparation if you extract cottonwood buds, which are full of resins, into vinegar versus if you do it with alcohol. And dosage is somewhat of an issue, as mentioned. You just can't drink that much vinegar. It will make you sick, might degrade your tooth enamel, but mostly you get kind of nauseous if you drink too much vinegar in one sitting. So you're a little bit limited by dosage. So if you have an herb that you want to take in a very large dosage, then usually vinegar is not the way to go. So herbal vinegars, they're great for those plants that are high in minerals, like we mentioned. For herbs you don't have to take a lot of to get benefits from. As mentioned, vinegar has a great affinity for respiratory issues, and food is medicine, whether it's salad dressing or marinade or drinking vinegars. And then, of course, if you want delicious, cooling, thirst-quenching beverages, then herbal vinegars are a great way to go. All right, Emily, do you want to take over for a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we've been, talking just kind of about vinegar, and so some of those things could apply to if you just bought like an apple cider vinegar or a wine vinegar or something like that from the store, or something that you made yourself. But then you can infuse them with herbs to make your herbal vinegar, and so then you're going to get the extra benefits of the, whatever herbs that you have infused in the vinegar. So can't remember, Rosalie, should I continue talking on this slide, or do you have another one to follow?
Let's see what's next. Okay.
All right. So yeah, and I noticed I think there's some questions about what kind of vinegar we're talking about. So, and there are so many different types of vinegar. As I mentioned, vinegar can be made from all different, various types of alcohol, which in turn can be made from various types of plants. So apple cider vinegar is a very common one. You also have things like a white wine or red wine vinegar. You can have balsamic vinegar made like rice vinegar, coconut vinegar, date vinegar. There's so many different kinds. And so you could choose those based, there are a lot of different reasons why you might choose one over another. One is just simply the taste and what you like, and what vinegar might work well with, whatever other herbs or other ingredients that you might be mixing in with the vinegar. So you can think about that. Also, just what you have available to you. You can think about some vinegars are going to be considered raw or unprocessed vinegar. And so those ones are minimally processed, and they probably still have some of the beneficial bacteria in it from the fermentation. So oftentimes, people will choose to use a raw vinegar. You can, I think there was a question about the distilled vinegars. So yeah, those are fermented from a distilled grain alcohol. And so sometimes those are barley or corn or, other grains. Sometimes it's petroleum. So you'd want to know exactly what the source is. And those often can taste very harsh too. So, sometimes they could be used for internal use, but oftentimes it's better for like cleaning, house cleaning and things like that. Let's see what's next.
I guess you were kind of mentioning this about the naturally fermented. One question we often get is about what's called the mother in apple cider vinegar, which apple cider vinegar is probably the most used, would you say, Emily, for herbal medicine purposes?
Yeah, I would say it is. And you can find it in other types of vinegar too. It's just that generally if it's sold in the apple cider vinegar, because those are just, that's normally what you would see. You would see a mother in apple cider vinegar, but you could, a naturally fermented vinegar, like a red wine vinegar, could also have a mother in it. And it's that like kind of cloudy thing, or like gelatinous, or, kind of a strange blob in the vinegar. Like people often wonder, like, what is that thing? Yeah. And that is basically, it's the acetic acid bacteria and cellulose. So it's just kind of a mass of that bacteria and the cellulose together. And so that helps in the fermentation process. If you've ever made like kombucha or something, it's kind of similar.
Yeah, if you don't know what it is, it could definitely make you feel like something is very wrong. So it's good to know. Like
it's totally, it's harmless. You can drink it. You could throw it out if it, disturbs you. You could put it in the compost. I think some people feed it to their like chickens and things like that. So yeah, but yeah, you don't. If you're wanting that minimally processed vinegar, it's a good thing to see in there.
Yeah, when you make your herbal vinegars, sometimes what you'll see is like after a while, it'll create like a gelatinous disc almost at the top. I mean, it can look a bunch of different ways, but that's kind of like the pictures I get from people are often that like gelatinous disc at the top, and they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Oh no, it's all good." So how you make your herbal vinegars is going to change depending on like what you want to use it for. And if you're using it for salad dressing, drinking vinegars, even a hair rinse, I tend to be more kind of like lackadaisical about ratios and, just kind of use the folk method basically, where I'm just eyeballing how much I'm adding versus using, if I'm thinking about really intentionally for medicine where I want a very specific end result, then I might be looking at things more, in terms of like how much herbs I'm using in relationship to the vinegar. We're going to share some recipes with you here in just a bit, but maybe I should just back up and say that I think vinegars often get compared to alcohol tinctures because they're made essentially the same way, in that you're putting herbs in a jar and then you're putting, in this case, vinegar to cover those herbs. So it's a really simple preparation, but as with anything, it's like start simple, but then your mind can go in all these different places with exactly how to do it. So again, it might depend, or will definitely depend how you make it, depending on what you're making it for. The one thing, though, when making herbal vinegars, always is true, is never use a metal lid. You want a non-reactive lid with a vinegar. So you can use like this flip top style that you see, or you can buy plastic lids that fit on canning jars, or you can just take parchment paper and have that be a barrier between the vinegar and the metal. I think that's a great tip, so that you always like have a go-to if you need it. That's my least favorite one because I like to shake mine a lot, and like that doesn't form it. If you have like parchment paper over a metal lid, it doesn't form a tight seal, so it gets kind of messy. So it's not my favorite, but I have done it just because I didn't have anything else. Oh yeah.
Basically, the vinegar corrodes the metal. So what happens is it's going to eat into a metal lid. You might get black and slimy and gross, and so gross. Yeah, that's why you want to avoid the metal.
Yeah, when I was taught to make herbal vinegars, I remember very clearly being told not to use a metal lid, and then I made one of my first herbal vinegars, and I just forgot about it in the moment, and so I made my herbal vinegar, and I remember, I put it in the cabinet, and then I forgot about it. I made a lot of mistakes. I wasn't looking at it every day, but I totally remember like reaching in, pulling out the vinegar, and it was like that, the lid that comes on top of it, it just like disintegrated and like fell into it, and it was vile. So yeah, never use a metal lid. So something else. After I've made the vinegar, I like sometimes if I know that I'm going through it really fast, like a drinking vinegar, I like to put it in a cute container like this with a cork topper. I don't do a cork topper if I'm not using it up super quick, because I don't think it preserves quite as well, but it is fun to have cork toppers. And in terms of shelf life for these, well, I'm looking at that thing is Hyssop Oxymel from 2013. This is an old photo, folks. I didn't realize that. Hyssop Oxymel is one of my favorite medicinal things for lungs, so that's a good one. But shelf life for these can vary a bit. If you're using all dried ingredients, they can last for quite a long time, especially if one thing you want to be certain is whatever vinegar you're using 5% acidity. That's going to prolong the shelf life. You can use less acidity, like your homemade vinegars might have a lower acidity count there, but they aren't going to last as long. But if you're using 5% acidity and you're using dried ingredients, they can last for a very long time. If you're using fresh ingredients, like we'll talk about fruit in just a moment, then they might have a shorter shelf life. And I often keep them in the fridge. And I generally say for vinegars, it's good to use them up in a year anyway. Like in a year, it's better just to have something fresh. Would you agree with that, Emily?
Yeah, I find just, the best flavor wise. And then, if you're looking for medicinal benefits and things like that, that's kind of also kind of an indicator of that. And it's going to be usually best within a year. If it's less than 5%, acidity. It could be more than 5% acidity. That's okay too. But if it's less, I would just keep it in the fridge the whole time. I saw someone asked about, I think, rice vinegar, and that's one that can be great to use, but it's typically less than 5%. So I would just keep that in the refrigerator the whole time.
Yeah. All right, so the previous slide said hyssop oxymel. And oxymel is simply vinegar and honey mixed together. And it actually means, what does the oxymel mean again, Emily? It's like sour.
Yeah. Just a sour honey. So
sour honey. Yeah. So that's an oxymel. And so vinegar and honey just together, that's an oxymel. But of course, as herbalists, we often put in herbs. So it's herbs, honey, and vinegar becomes an oxymel. And with oxymels, those are used medicinally. That's the School of Hippocrates wrote about using oxymels, saying that they were the best for those congested lung conditions, not used for dry, parched conditions, but congested lungs. And so they are used medicinally. And this is when we start getting into more of our sweet and sour drinking beverages, because of course we have the sweetness of the honey and the sour of the vinegar. And then we have shrubs. So there's a lot of different terms for vinegars.
Yeah, all kinds of names, but shrubs just sounds like a shrub, like a plant outside, spelled the same way, but it comes from the Arabic word sharab. And that is a vinegar and fruit combination with some kind of sweetener. We often use honey. It could be sugar too. So if it's got fruit in it, then we consider it a shrub. But you don't have to only use herbs or only use fruits. I think as herbalists, we like to often do both.
Yeah, so these, like, now we're getting into my favorite vinegar preparations, is like we got the honey, we got the vinegar, we got the fruit, we got herbs, and this is where things get really exciting. And so we do, as mentioned, have recipes for you, and we just wanted to give you some actual examples of recipes. And these are all from our course, Rooted Medicine Circle, where we have a whole extended tutorial on how to make herbal vinegars as part of our module 2. And yeah, so our first one here is hawthorn vinegar, and I'm showing you on the screen. This is what it looks like, the recipe, but you're going to be able to download these, so you don't need to write this down or anything. In a moment, I'll give you a link that you can use to download your own copy. So we'll be sure that you get that. So hawthorn vinegar, it's something I make a lot of. In fact, I think you guys can see me on screen. You all can see me on screen, even though I can't see all of you. But I have this as show and tell. This is my hawthorn vinegar. One of my very, very favorite vinegars. I don't know how well you can see the color in there, but it turns, this really beautiful, well, our local hawthorns, our native hawthorns, are called black hawthorns. They're very dark in color, but it's just the most beautiful shade of color, and it's super sweet, even without added honey. And so I use that for salad dressings, but I really love to add honey to it and use it as a drinking vinegar as well. So I think I go through about 1.5 gallons of hawthorn vinegar every year. That's mainly for me and my husband. So I don't often give that one away because that's pretty much how much we use between like drinking it and then using it. It's kind of like the go-to that we use for our salad dressings, marinades, all sorts of stuff like that. And it really is, 2 ingredients. We're just talking hawthorn berries and vinegar. So it's a really, really simple, lovely medicine, lovely heart medicine. This is my new favorite. This is brand new recipe, mandarins and evergreen shrub. Pretty much everything I do lately is all about either mandarins or evergreen shrubs. As I mentioned, I have lots of snow on the ground out there, looking out at the forest. And so not a lot of citrus trees growing around here, but I order citrus direct from a farm from California, closer to where Emily's at. And so I get like boxes of this fruit, and then I just start exploring all their different gifts. And this is what I came up with this year, is using the evergreens that are outside my door with mandarins and some other lovely spices. And I've made a lot of this. I've at least 1 gallon. And that's because I made it a lot over the holidays and I was giving it away a lot and drinking it ourselves too. So this is definitely a crowd pleaser. Gotten lots of feedback on that from friends. And also the first time I gave it to my husband, he was like, ooh, so he was impressed as well. So again, you'll be getting these recipes. And Emily, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, fire cider. So some of you may have heard of the famous herbal preparation fire cider, and that's a form of an herbal vinegar or oxymel because it has honey in it. So the original recipe by Rosemary Gladstar had a lot of very spicy and pungent ingredients, garlic and onions and ginger and horseradish and things. So this is kind of a spin on that, adding pomegranates as well. So it gives it not only the nice fruity and a little bit sour, sweet flavor from the pomegranates, but also a beautiful color too. So that's a really fun one to make.
Yeah, it's really beautiful too. With
yeah,
the color just turns out so gorgeous. All right, so here is where you can download your recipes that you saw there. You have to type that into your browser. And I'll just leave that up for just a little bit, but I want to come back and see all the comments and see Emily, because right now I'm just seeing the slides. But yeah, that's where you can download your recipes, those 3 that you saw. And those are recipes, as mentioned, from our course, Rooted Medicine Circle. We have a lot more. We had to pick and choose because there's, as mentioned, we love herbal vinegars and there's so much you can do with them. So there's lots in there. I think I'm just going to stop sharing that, but I can put this up on. There we go. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So there's that. And I do have some more show and tell. Should I do some show and tell, or do we have questions, Emily?
I do have lots of questions.
Okay, let's answer some questions first.
Okay, let's see. Well, the very first question that came in early was, I think they're asking, where are you from? Where are we from? So yeah, that's something we hadn't mentioned. I'm in Los Angeles. And Rosalie?
I'm in the central state of Washington. So just a couple hours south of the Canadian border. Yeah.
Yeah, so the two of us live in very, very different places, which I think has been part of it's been so educational and fun just to kind of talk about how the plants where we live are different and the seasons and to kind of hopefully bring that into, when we're sharing things with others, that you can, different ways of experiencing the herbs and the seasons and stuff like that. You don't have to be in a particular type of environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, Emily's often reminding me of, it's been a fun thing to, like, as I said, I've got all the snow on the ground, and right now in LA, plants are coming up. Like I saw baby mallow plants you had posted about the other day.
All right, let's see. I guess we can just kind of go down. Karen is very helpfully compiling a lot of these questions for us. So, what vinegar herb combo would you add to seltzer? Well, I think Rosalie, you were just talking about adding some to seltzer the other day.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was sorry, I was reading and I didn't hear what question.
Oh, so what herb combo would you add to seltzer? I mean, there's just it could be endless, the different combinations, but favorite ones being, well, I think right now, I think I could safely say the Mandarin Evergreen might be your favorite one.
Mm-hmm.
Right now.
The favorite one, the vinegars, or the hawthorn's a favorite one. Tulsi is a real big favorite. I make a lot of Tulsi, gallons of it. So I grow it in my garden. So I'm just and it needs to be pinched back all the time. So I'm just kind of constantly making it with Tulsi, or Tulsi's also called holy basil. But that was, it's been really fun just to see, like, what can't you do with it? I made peach basil this year. That was really yummy. I know you've made something
just like those like little mason jars, and I'll just do like a little bit and see like how's this going to turn out, and then I'll see, and then it's great. Then you can make a bigger batch. So just whatever happens to be growing, around at that time of year, or that you're getting from the farmer's market, or wherever, just to kind of experiment with what's in season.
Yeah, and as mentioned, the vinegar is really great at extracting minerals. So it's great for things like stinging nettle that has lots of minerals in it. But it's also really good at capturing the aromatics of plants. And so things that when you crush them, they smell good. And so I like to combine those, getting I often put dandelion root in a lot of my vinegar preparations and, getting those. So I know I'm getting the minerals from the dandelion root, but then I'll be using aromatic herbs as well. Jenny says, you mentioned drinking shrubs, but you also say, it's not good to drink a lot of vinegar. I'm going to try something here. Can put that on there. Yeah. So that's a good clarification. So when you're drinking shrubs or drinking herbal vinegars, you're doing so with like a tablespoon in usually, sparkling water or just plain water is fine too. So you're drinking a lot less. So what we're saying is you don't want to drink have your 8-ounce cup of apple cider vinegar and just drink that down. That's not good. You won't want to do that. I mean, your tummy's not going to feel great. So sometimes I've drank a whole bunch of shrub in water on an empty stomach. And there's been a couple times where my tummy didn't like that. But I think it was I came in and I was really hot from being outside and I just was glug, 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 glug. And then I was oh, that doesn't feel good on my empty stomach. So, but that's happened maybe twice. So your tummy will tell you if it's not happy, I think.
And you can decide, how much you dilute it. Kind of a good rule of thumb, maybe a tablespoon or a couple of tablespoons for a cup. And you can see, and it's kind of adjust it to your own taste too, or so you can see, how much you like in your water.
Dominique has a question here about Rooted Medicine Circle. They say, concerned about joining it because living in Michigan, some difficulty sourcing herbs mentioned like maypop, which is passion flower, and prickly pear. And yeah, we've put a lot of thought into the herbs that go into the course. And what we did is we chose herbs that were commonly available around a lot of different areas. And we really focused a lot on easy to find things like weeds that grow abundantly. But we knew when we chose them, not every herb is going to be in everybody's locale. So that is just fine. That's not a necessary thing. When we make herbal medicine together, we're going to be choosing very common herbs, and then we'll also give substitutes. So it's not that you need to source every single herb within the course. In fact, we're going to be helping you find out, what are the herbs that do grow around you that you can find easily. And then we have all different ways of sourcing those plants too, whether some people want to grow theirs, some people might want to forage their own. Other people might not be interested in that at all. And instead will just want to spend time with that plant to get to know the plant well, but maybe actually sourcing the herbs from another place. And we have lots of help available for that as well. All right. Do you want to grab a question?
Sure. A couple questions about using vinegar to clean, the kind and how you would use it. So you could use any of them. I typically, I do often use that just plain white vinegar for cleaning because it's pretty neutral and it's inexpensive. I'll use the pricier vinegars for the ones that I'm actually going to ingest. So I'll do that, and then I will, infuse it with orange peels or herbs and things like that. And then before using it to clean, dilute it with water. So, I'll dilute it maybe with 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water or so. And then put it in a spray bottle or something like that and use that for cleaning. So it actually, even making 1 jar of your infused vinegar to clean then gets stretched because you're diluting it. So it's, it's really very inexpensive cleaning product.
Yeah, actually, I have that as a show and tell. This is mine. So this is just, my leftover peels. And if I was making this as medicine, I'd be making it just a little bit differently. But for cleaning vinegar, you can see it's been infusing for a while. You can see that color is really nice. I make this, every winter, and then I use it throughout the year. And that's pretty much all I need for cleaning our house. So notice the plastic lid there. But this is pretty much ready to be strained and good to go. So, and I just use the distilled white vinegar for that. Dominic with another great question. Will Rooted Medicine Circle provide any guidance on safe foraging and plant identification? Yes, lots. So we set it up so that, again, if people don't want to do that, they don't need to. But for the people who do, we have extensive information about that. So we'll be supporting people in that way, very much so. Stacy Ray Gibbs wondering, if we don't make the actual live class, will it be recorded? Yes.
Yes.
It'll definitely be recorded, and then we'll be available later on after you watch it if you have questions. So we'll be able to support you in that. I saw a question now. It kind of went by, or do you have something to add?
Go ahead.
The question went by on like, how do you make a drinking, what you made your herbal vinegar, then what do you do? So I actually brought like a whole little, I have the tools here to make a herbal shrub drink. So I'm going to use evergreen oxymel. So that's just evergreen needles with vinegar and honey. And now that I've made them so often, I can just eyeball it. I think a good place to start is around a tablespoon, but you could start with less. It's always easier to start with less than it is to start with too much. But it's kind of hard for me to pour that, but I know that about that much is good for me. I also, because I've been making them so much, like I know what glass, like how much vinegar to put in each glass, and so you start to get a feel for that. And then I have a soda stream. So I bet you can hear this. And so this is how easy it is. Just have a little bit in there. Then I add the sparkling water. My husband really dislikes sparkling water, so I always make his with just still water. So there's that. It's beautiful. It's kind of missing something though, don't you think? Kind of looks plain a little bit. Okay, I'm just showing off now. But I have homemade maraschino cherries that I made from choke cherries that just grow all around here. And I haven't had lunch yet, so I went heavy on the cherries. And now I have like the perfect drink, and it's beautiful, really impressive, like something you can really impress your friends with too. Here, super simple to make.
Nice.
Yummy.
So right. I've seen a couple questions asking more about the Rooted Medicine Circle class, like kind of specifically the structure of the course and how many lessons and when are they taking place and things like that. So is that a good time to show inside, or we can just kind of talk through it?
I'm pretty excited to show inside the course.
Okay, we could show you inside. So just as a general overview, it's a 10-month course, and it's divided into 5 modules. So each module is roughly 2 months. And then within each module, we're kind of focusing on different aspects of medicine making. So like module 1 is all teas, infusions, decoctions, and syrups. And then module 2 will be vinegars and oxymels and tinctures and glycerites and things like that. And then also within each module, we're focusing on different aspects of nature connection and getting to know where you live and getting to know plants. And so part of it is just a self-study. There's a lot of materials, and we'll show you in just a minute, that you can read, and activities, and journaling and things like that. So you can do that, according to your own schedule, whenever that works for you. And then usually once a month, we will be doing the live medicine making sessions where we'll be together and making our medicines together, answering questions, things like that. And then there's also a bonus Facebook group too for people who'd like to be part of that. And then you can have community discussions anytime. But let's show inside the course so you can kind of get a sense of how that works.
All right, can you see that?
Yeah.
All right, so this is what I'm logged in as a student. So this is exactly what you see. And each of these boxes that you see here is a different section of the site. And right now we have module 1 up, but as Emily was mentioning, we have 5 modules total. They'll each last about 2 months. So when module 1's done, we'll have module 2 up there. And now let's look inside. So for module 1, a big part of module 1 is what we are calling the Rooted Medicine Circle notebook. And I can't really see myself here, but I imagine you all can see me holding this up. So this is the one for module 1. And there's a couple of ways to interact with that. You can do like I did and print out this, which is what I like to do because I like writing like with a pen, and there's places where you can fill things in. And as Emily was saying, you can go at your own pace. And we also send weekly prompts. And so if you want, we can all go through it at the same time together, whichever works best for you. So one way you can do this, again, is print it out, put it in a 3-ring binder. Or you can look at it in how we're looking at it now. So for example, you can go through these one by one. I'll just look at one in here. So you can see your plant ally, it has a little bit about it. We do have a lot of beautiful illustrations as part of the course. So if you do it this way, one thing you can do is you can complete and continue, which then will mark things off for you as being completed. So that can help you keep track of that. Another cool feature is that you can download the notebook and keep it as a digital document and use it as you can fill in the document on your computer. Did I say that right, Emily?
Yeah, basically you can download the PDFs and you can type into them if you want. So there's that option for you if you don't want to print things out. You could also, if you wanted to just look at the things, on your screen, on your computer or your mobile device, and then, use your own notebook or something like that, you could also do that. So there's lots of different ways that you could approach it.
And we also invite you to work with the materials in the way that works with you. Emily and I are both writers. We like to write, but you could be doing more drawing through it. You could be making videos for yourself. You could be sharing with others. So there's a lot of different ways to interact with the materials as well. As mentioned, we have these medicine making section. We do have supply lists for each of the tutorials, and we have the teas and decoctions, which I think most of you have seen. And as mentioned, we have the syrups in this module as well. We also have a lot of extensive things for keeping records, because that's a good practice, whether you're making medicine or you're engaging in naturalist things, so naturalist activities. So this is kind of where the drawing comes in, or that fillable PDF, or printing it out as well. All right, so that's the notebook. The plants, of course, are always an exciting part of the herbal course. And so here you can find about half the plants in the course are in here. I'll show you where the other half is in just a moment. So you can see these. And as mentioned, most of these are going to grow around you, some won't, and that's okay. We're also going to be writing more for the course, depending on what people really want to hear. So we're going to be listening for that. Just show you what it looks like inside. So these are all downloadable. So you can download these as much as you want. I'll go to the top here. Wish it would have been there. But so here we have hawthorn. And if you're familiar with how we write monographs, this will look familiar. We provide you with everything you need to know, from the plant gifts, which are, we look to our own experience, historical, traditional use, as well as looking at studies that are being done, how to identify, how to harvest, ecological connections, things, guides you need to know about harvesting. Then, of course, we have beautiful illustrations to go with each one. We have really practical information too, how to garden it, the recommended amounts for taking it, special considerations, and endnotes, etc. So these are all thorough. And yeah, quite a bit here in the course, as you can see. And here we also have, here's another shrubby recipe. But here we have recipes to go along with each herb as well. We also have another section for recipes, because we have more recipes. Some of the recipes we have weren't related to a particular monograph. So here's all of the recipes, and you can see they're arranged by the different type. And there's lots of food recipes, because that is a way to welcome herbs into our life in a lot of different ways. But yeah, so there's all sorts of different ones arranged by type. Here in the bonuses, we have a digital edition of our Wild Remedies book, where you're going to find many more monographs and recipes. So it's easy to access there. Students will get a 10% discount on Mountain Rose herbs, which help with the medicine making supplies and herbs. As Emily mentioned, we have a bonus Facebook group if you want to interact with students. And everyone also has the opportunity to get a United Plant Savers membership, which is an organization dedicated to plant conservation in North America. And Dominic was asking about foraging, and the modules all contain information about foraging, but we also have this bonus Wildcrafters Toolkit. It's a 12-part video course. There you can see things on plant identification, wildcrafting practice. And so this is like video showing you, how to harvest flowers, best practices, etc. So there's a whole 12-part course within that. Some people will be keen on getting a certificate. So there's information here on certificate, and student services lets you know how to get in contact with us and has a lot more additional resources. People were wondering, how to source herbs and other resources that'll be helpful. Is that?
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple questions about is everything digital in the course? So as you see, all of these materials, are all digital. You could look at them, on your device, or you could download them and print them out, or however you best like to read things. And then once a month, we will have our medicine making circles that are also online, but it'll be through a kind of like this, how we're doing online video together to make our medicines. So that's how it will be delivered. Someone was asking, would it still serve someone well if their technology skills aren't the greatest? So I hope, we've chosen a course platform that is pretty easy to use and hopefully intuitive. And we tried to organize it really well so that you can get right in there and see things. Again, if you're not wanting to, log into the site all the time, you could download the materials and look at the PDFs, or you could print them out and put them in a 3-ring binder or something and look at them that way. Yes, as Rosalie is showing.
I love the printed version.
And as far as access goes, so this is going to be a 10-month course, and you'll have access to the course site until December 1st. But everything in there is downloadable. So you could, you could download all of the materials, all the videos, everything, and you could have that for life. Because we're going to be offering this every year, then that's why the course access, will end at the end of December, so that to let a new group of students in at that time. But
we'll give lots of warning for that, so you can't get everything.
Totally, yeah, you'll have plenty of time
to
get everything you want. Let's see. Rosalie, are you seeing that there's a couple questions kind of about Herb Mentor and Taste of Herbs and things? Maybe you could address.
I'm just seeing that now.
Okay.
Somebody's wondering about the timing. How fast will Rooted Medicine Circle go? And as regards to Taste of Herbs. So Rooted Medicine Circle does have your own self-guided pace to it, where we've looked at the materials, we've looked at what we're going to prompt you with every week, and we think that it'll take about 1 to 3 hours a week. So this is a course, so it is something to invest your time in, but we are also doing it in a very organized way and very conscious of not overloading, because we're understanding that people are fitting this into their busy lives. So there are those self-guided things. And then for the medicine making, I've seen some people ask about timing on that. And in February, we're going to have 2 medicine making sessions. And after that, we'll have 1 medicine session a month. And that'll be, we're imagining, 60 to 90 minutes. And right now, those are scheduled on a Saturday. And so
those will be live, and we will
be live,
but we will be recording them too. So if you attended and you want to watch it again, or you weren't able to make it, then those will all be recorded for you.
Yeah. So in terms of the pace of it, that's kind of the idea of the pace, is that you're doing some things on your own each week. And then once a month, we're coming together and making medicine. And what we envision, if you can show up live, that's great. And if you can't, that's fine. What we're envisioning for these is that we're all going to have the same ingredients, more or less. You might want to do a substitution here or there. but we're going to do it together. So we'll all make the same tea together and experience it together, or the same tincture, etc. So we'll literally be doing it together. So it's not just like you sitting back and watching us, although you could do that too, I guess. But the idea is that we can make it together. So you're making yours, we're making ours, and you can ask us like, oh, but what about this issue? Or, oh, what happens when this happens? Or, so you can ask us about that too. So that's the idea. So if you can't make it live, then you can still watch it and make yours at the same time. And I'm guessing that people are going to ask the same questions that you might have. And if they don't, you can ask us in another way too. So that's how we recommend approaching that. Welcome, Kathy. That was the first thing I saw. Dominic, we haven't scheduled all of those because we're kind of waiting to see how it goes for the Saturdays for the live medicine making. So the first one is, we know, is February 6th. But we will have those available in advance. So we're not going to like spring it on you. So we do have a schedule, like we'll be updating that like months in advance. So you'll be able to see that.
Yeah, we have the first few scheduled. And then because this is our beta year, we really want to take into consideration, everyone, students' feedback and, how things are working for everyone, that we wanted to not necessarily set everything in stone right away and see how that's working. And then we can figure it out. And then, but again, let you know with plenty of notice.
Christine asked, there's information about building your own backyard garden? And there is. All of our monographs contain gardening tips for those plants. And I'm also guessing, in the Facebook group, I imagine there's a lot of gardeners in there. So we'll be able to share gardening tips in there as well.
Laura's asking about being in Canada and how relevant it would be, for example, for the certificate. And so in general, we really built this course to be relevant to people wherever you live, that you're really learning about the natural world and the plants and making remedies, based on your local environment. So, and then as far as the certificate goes, which is, it's an option, it's optional. You don't have to do the certificate. But if you would like to, that's, we're not, we don't have like an official, accreditation, of the particular organization to offer you, for example, continuing education credits, for a particular organization that you might be part of. But the certificate can be used in many instances to, to prove that you've done continuing education type work. If you're doing like the American Herbalist Guild, for example, or something like that, then you could show them your certificate and explain what you were doing. So yeah, and just Rosalie, you might want to talk a little bit about what certification means or doesn't mean too, just in general.
Yeah, so for the herbal world, there's not any licensure unless you are, you go through like 8 years of school for traditional Chinese medicine. That's, I think, the only licensure for herbalism. So if you're your general herbalist, there's no licensure, which means that certificates are really an acknowledgement of the time and effort and energy that you put into something. And as Emily said, it can be used for things like applying for the American Herbalist Guild or some other type of herbal organization. But we don't want to be misleading in that, like, a certificate doesn't grant you legal protection, for example. That's not the case, because nothing does. But it's not like a negative thing. It's just that, there's some schools out there might want to like misrepresent what a certificate is. And the certificate is basically an acknowledgement of the time and effort you've put into it and proof of your studies. Sometimes another thing the certificate can do is if you want to have a practitioner account with like an herbal products business, then having a certificate can help you show that you have your herbal studies under your belt, and that can grant you practitioner access to that. So that's another way that I've used certificates. Our certificate is also going to be beautiful, so you might want to use it as art on your wall. So, outside the box there. Yeah. I saw some questions about if there's, a shopping list ahead of time, people wondering about how things might work if you want to order from Mountain Rose Herbs, because they have been with all of the safety precautions and everything going on with COVID-19, they have some extended shipping times. And yes, we already have the supply list up for our medicine making in February, and we will have those supply lists or shopping lists up well in advance for you.
And again, those are if you want to make the remedies like exactly as we have it written in the recipe, right, and as we might be doing during the live, but there's lots of substitutions available. So we'll be making suggestions for substitutions and helping you out if you have questions about those, so that you don't have to make it exactly in that way if it's not available to you, or you don't like that herb, or you're allergic to it or something like that. That will help you out in making a different variation that works for you.
Mm-hmm. If you have asked a question you didn't get it answered and you're waiting, you might want to pop it in again just to kind of refresh here and let us know. And we're still here to answer questions about vinegars if you have them as well. I still could pull out some. I have one more thing I was excited to show, which is this is my mandarin evergreen, has hawthorn berries in it too. This is a shrub for that. And as I mentioned, I've been making a lot of this, and I gave a jar of this to a friend, and I saw her before it was really ready to strain, but I knew I wasn't going to see her for a long time after that. So I just gave it to her like this. And I felt kind of bad of like, oh, you're going to have to strain it yourself. Then I realized that is beautiful. So you're mentioning how fun it is to give us gifts, and that is definitely a fun gift. Fun, beautiful gift.
Let's see. For the recipes, I'm seeing someone having trouble sourcing fresh horseradish. Can you skip that? Yeah, you could definitely skip that. It would be fine. Just leave it out. And someone else asked about living in LA and how do you source fresh herbs? So lots of different, some of them I grow myself. Some of them I forage if it's ethical and sustainable to do so. Herbs from the farmer's market, from other friends who garden. I've done trades and things like that, swaps. Regular grocery store, Asian market. There's like lots of different places. So it's not just one place to source fresh herbs, but and that's something too. Happy to help you with in course discussions. If folks are having trouble, hopefully we can all pitch in, with ideas to help people find what they're looking for.
All right. Well, it seems like questions are slowing down. Ken, if you're still on and there's something that you're wanting to get answered, please type it in. Oh, how do you make maraschino cherries? Actually, I forgot that I was going to share that or just screen share that recipe in there. The maraschino cherries, so how they're made commercially is pretty gross, actually. It's like they take cherries and then they bleach them, and then they add artificial coloring and flavors. And that is how they make those maraschino cherries, like the bright red cherries that you might get like in a cocktail. And so this year I wanted to make something with choke cherries because I have lots of choke cherries. And so I just started experimenting, and I made mine with alcohol and almond extract and honey, and also added tart cherry juice to it as well. And I experimented with a bunch of different ratios of that and different cherries from different trees. And they turned out really well. So I actually made a lot of those as gifts too. But it was a fun way to be able to use choke cherries, which are abundant in a lot of places in the US, but they're called choke cherries, not like, these are so delicious cherries. So they're called that for a reason. They're super astringent. So you kind of have to be a little creative with how you use them because you don't really eat them like you would a commercial cherry. So so that's how you make them. You can make, maraschino cherries with all sorts of cherries, but I really worked on creating a recipe that was, added enough flavor and everything to kind of offset that astringency to them. Yeah.
And just want to mention too, if you please can keep putting in your questions, right now. But if you have other questions, you're welcome to contact us at support@rootedmedicinecircle.com. support@rootedmedicinecircle.com. So we can help you out if you have other questions.
Lori says, I own everything from learning herbs, as well as being on Herb Mentor. What will Rooted Medicine Circle add to my present herb arsenal? So some things that I think that are unique to Rooted Medicine Circle that aren't a part of other things out there is one, the community aspect. And I know, making medicine with other people is so helpful. It helps you set aside time to do it. So I hear that from people like, oh, I want to make medicine, but just my days get filled up. But this, we're giving you a time and place to set aside for that. And also, we weren't meant to make medicine all by ourselves all the time. I'm sure, I make a lot of medicine on my own, so I wouldn't say it's never, never, but these were things that were traditionally done in communities. And it's a time to get together, share tips, share experiences. So I'm really looking forward to that. I know we both are, of being able to do that live with you, or, you being able to watch the recording. But we are going to be making the same recipes. So not only do you have Emily and I helping to support you with questions, but we're all making the same medicine. So we'll have that community involvement where we can share experiences. Because when it comes to herbal medicine, there's just no, this or that situation. And someone might have other experiences that we haven't had. So we're looking forward to learning from all of us. And what's different about this, our approach to medicine making, is that we're really centering and prioritizing our connection to nature through it all, whether that's making seasonal medicines, whether that's really getting out to spend time with the plants around you. And so that's another really important aspect of it. And we're going to be looking at, all these different ways of approaching that, whether it's fine-tuning our awareness skills or really rooting into the sense of interdependence and recognizing how we are all interdependent on all the beings around us, whether it's the plants or, as Emily likes to bring up, the snails, the birds, community aspects. So that is something, it's like both of those, we're really entwining all of that together, because we believe that herbal medicine is so powerful when it's connected to place and when we're connected together. So those are some of the things that, this is a different sort of course, and that it's not entirely do it yourself or do it alone. It's do it together, both as a people community and by recognizing the greater community around us.
Let's see. Well, Carol is asking kind of about timing and course load. If some of you might be taking other courses or have a busy work schedule or busy life, things like that. And so, as we mentioned, we have those times to come together in community, and once a month, or in February it'll be twice a month, but generally once a month. But the rest, can be done on your own schedule. And a lot of the materials, in the notebook and in the modules, you don't have to do it all either. A lot of it is, there's suggested prompts and activities and things for you to do, but we put a lot in there so that you can see what really resonates, with you. So if you want to do, every single journal prompt or, outdoor activity or medicine making recipe, that's totally, you can do that, or you can go and see what, really, but what speaks to you, in that moment, and do it that way. And again, you can download all the materials and do them in the future. But for those of you who do like a little bit of structure, I think some of us, we might sign up for something and then, not fit it into your schedule. We will have weekly prompts and things like that, just to give you the guidance if you want. So, I'm hoping that it'll really, meet people, different people's needs, depending on how you want to approach it.
I was thinking about it. Go ahead.
Oh, I just saw a question about, as people have questions through the month, do you have to wait for the live session or ask for feedback? Yeah, definitely. You can be asking us through the month. It's really important to us, to be there as guides for you too, so that you're not like all left on your own. So you don't have to wait for the live session.
Yeah, I was thinking of a question I got this week, or really someone was sharing their experience of saying that, they want to make herbal medicine, but they get stuck before they even get started, because they think, there's just like a lot of overwhelm and confusion. They might think, they shared, first I have to choose the herb, but I'm not sure which one to choose. And if I do choose an herb, I don't know, should I make it as a tea or a tincture? then sometimes I make the decision, and then there's like this one question that is stopping me from moving forward. And so I look at books, I look at online, and I just can't find the answer to that one question. And that is, we are so lucky to have so many lovely books and online information. But when you do need that personalized help, it can be a real hurdle. So that's what we're really offering, is that help, when you need it. So that's an important thing. And I know, if you've tried to crowdsource information before, like on a Facebook group or something, that is overwhelming too, because you ask with a seemingly simple question and you get 50 responses that contradict each other even. So, we're helping people cut through that confusion so you can really get started, start making your herbal medicine. I'm so excited. I can imagine 10 months from now and seeing people's herbal medicine chests, and how, it's going to be not just impressive in terms of like what, the different preparations there, but all of the connections that were made through the year. And it's also, Emily and I talk a lot about this, it's important for us that we're giving you a foundation, and we recognize ourselves as guides and helping you through this, but ultimately you're your best teacher. The plants around you are your best teacher. The ecosystem you live in is your best teacher. And we're giving you a foundation, and we know that you're going to keep building on that as time goes on. So it's something that we're helping you get started. We're showing you best practices so you don't have to, get mixed up or make costly mistakes along the way. And then we're also showing you, helping you along that path too, so that you can keep going. Oh, we got a question about Southern Hemisphere, Emily. Sometimes I feel like you live in the Southern Hemisphere. You know what I mean? Though, like it's so exact opposite to me. Like it'll be summertime and I'll be like, oh man, the harvest season is just like never ending. And Emily's like, yeah, we're done.
I've not seen that question. What is our Southern Hemisphere?
I believe Neris is maybe how you spell that or pronounce that. Neris says, I'm in Australia, so in opposite seasons. Do you think that will cause any problems with availability of herbs, etc.?
Yeah, well, it's funny kind of that you say that, Rosalie, because I think, there's sometimes when, Rosalie would think like, oh, let's focus on, module 1 will be winter. And I was like, well, what about the Southern Hemisphere? Or, even what about me in LA? It's a little bit different. So we're really very cognizant of that. And so that, exercises and things are about following the seasons where you are and paying attention. So it's not, it doesn't have to be in a specific way or place, so that we can guide you in learning about the natural world where you are. And as far as the ingredients, that we'll be making for the medicine making, you can, we're providing, a lot of them will be made with dried herbs, so it doesn't necessarily have to be in season where you live, or if it's fresh, again, we'll provide suggestions for substitutions, and so that they're, you can work with the plants that you have. It doesn't have to be tied to a particular season in a particular place in the world.
And if you have other questions about Rooted Medicine Circle and you haven't already gone to rootedmedicinecircle.com, then I recommend that, because we do have a lot of information there. And I'm just going to show that real quick here, what that looks like. So if you go to rootedmedicinecircle.com, here's what that looks like. This is our enrollment page. So we have a lot more here about what exactly is in the course, who this course is for. Just kind of scrolling through this. So there's lots for you to read. If you're, wondering, is this the course for me? Then we've put a lot of energy into putting information here that's going to help you make that decision. You'll be able to see exactly what's in there. Images like our red clover monograph. So you'll see, here we have guided self-study information, showing you exactly what's in the course. If you haven't already downloaded this, highly recommend downloading your sample lesson here. This is our ultimate guide to making teas. This is directly from the course, and it shows you, how to make teas, how to make decoctions, has a really cool reference chart showing you how to make teas and decoctions with over 100 plants. So if you download this and you look at that information, you think, this is total crap, I don't like this, this is probably not the course for you, honestly. But if you download that and see, wow, this is more in depth than I've ever seen, you know, on a free website. And this is exactly the practical information that I need to know. And, you know, how to use it, the safety precautions, all of that stuff. That's, you know, if you like thorough, nuanced information and you like that sample lesson, that's going to be a really good indication that you like the course. And we're going to make all sorts of herbal preparations. We have a visual here: teas, decoctions, syrups, honeys, vinegars, oxymel, shrubs, like we talked about today, tinctures, glycerites, which is a sweet alcohol-free substance, lots of external preparations. I love herbal oils, so making lots of herbal oils, salves, creams, other external things like poultices, fomentations, herbal baths, something I'm also very passionate about, powders, pastilles, and then of course lots of food and drinks. So again, there's lots of information here about all of your bonuses, certificate, information on cost, information on us, and then there's lots of frequently asked questions like why join now? Is the course right for me? Who won't benefit from the course, etc. So lots there. Here's another bit of that sample lesson. So check that out for sure in terms of wanting to know more information. I need to stop sharing there.
I see a question, will we share other students' questions and our answers so we could learn from them as well? Yeah, I think that is part of the wonderful thing about being in that community, is that we can all learn, you know, from each other and from questions that other people have. So, you know, definitely in those live sessions that we recorded, in the Facebook group if you're there, and then, you know, if people send us personal questions, you know, we'll just check and make sure that that's okay to share. But yeah, I think, you know, we would be sharing things with other people so we can all learn from each other.
Yeah. Cruz says, for medical professionals, do you provide any evidence of effectiveness? That's actually one thing that I'm known for, Emily's known for, is that we include a lot of extensive endnotes for all of our herbal monographs. And so we only use human clinical trials or somewhat sparingly in vitro studies as well, looking at that. So that is absolutely something that is always included in our monographs. I will say, in terms of herbal medicine, sometimes the best proof is in the pudding, right? When you try it and it works, especially things that can work so instantly, like thinking about the medicinal preparation of oxymels and like for that lung congestion. I mean, to take that medicine and feel that your lung congestion dissipate and help with coughing and stuff. I mean, that's the best medicine there is right there, is the ones that you see working immediately. Do you know about measuring acidity, Emily? I don't know much about that. Someone's asking, how do you measure acidity if you're making your own vinegar? Would you use a pH strip like with kombucha? Oh, I lost your sound.
I was muted. Yeah, there's a special tool that you have to use, so it is kind of complicated. So when I've made my home vinegars, if I'm not, like, I might do a pH strip just because that's a simple, cheap way to test it, but it's not, you know, an ultimate test. So I will usually put those ones in the refrigerator just to be sure, if I'm using it, you know, to preserve something, just for some extra insurance there.
Evelina, that's very nice words. Thank you very much. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right.
Oh, thanks. Asking if there are limited spaces for the course. So we don't have a limited number of spaces, but we do have a limited time to sign up, since we are going to be offering that kind of in personalized support and doing you know, the live groups in the community and things like that. So next, let's see, January 13th at 5 p.m. will be our close date for signing up. And will we offer this again after the first round? Yes, that is our plan, to offer it once a year. So so this, you know, first year, we're calling it our beta year, and, you know, be really grateful to everyone who's in it to also be helping to provide your feedback and things, so that we're really creating the course around your desires, and then be offering it again a year from now.
Yeah, and some examples of that is, as we mentioned, we're curious about what other plants people want to see in the course. Of course, we can't like add every plant under the sun, but we'll see, you know, what are the most popular requests, and we'll be adding some more plant monographs. Emily and I are both always creating recipes, so we'll be adding recipes to the course as we create them. And those are going to be where I'm prioritizing sharing my recipes. So that's going to be, you know, I'm always going to think about Rooted Medicine Circle first. And we're also, you know, thinking about who we're going to have on for naturalist webinars. So we'll be seeing what topics are of big interest of people as well. So excited for that. And because it's our beta year, that things might change a little bit. And, you know, as we mentioned, we might be adding things, or maybe we figure out like, oh, this thing we thought was going to work doesn't, you know, work as well as we thought. So we might change it a little bit. So we'll be doing that. But because it's our beta year, we definitely need to appeal to people who are okay with slight changes. You know, if you want a super polished, perfected course where nothing changes, then this wouldn't be a good year. But because things will be changing slightly, we think, we are offering a significant discount this year. This course won't be offered at this price again next year. So it's kind of like our way of saying, like, you know, thanks for being with us this first year, and thanks for your patience. I don't envision like a lot of big things changing, but like just as an example, we thought Saturdays would be best for the live medicine making, and 1 p.m. Pacific time will be good because we know that although it's a little bit later, that people in Europe might be able to make it. So, but we'll see how that goes. So that's kind of the things we'll be testing out and seeing how things work. Lori says she's impressed with the sample lesson. Looks like a very thorough course. Thank you. Yeah, thanks for all the kudos. Actually, there's lots of nice words there. So thanks for sharing that. And the time has gone by so fast. So I thought we'd be like stretching it into an hour. And then the first time I looked at the clock, it was 57 minutes in. I felt like we were just beginning. So yeah, thank you all for being here. And thanks for your questions, for your enthusiasm. Thanks for all of you who've been joining the course these past couple of days. And today I see we have a number of new signups just in this past hour. So really looking forward to meeting you all within the course, and excited to see you there. And as Emily said, I didn't put up a banner. Let me just can make one real quick. If you have additional questions, pops into your head, you can email support@rootedmedicinecircle.com. Hopefully I spelled that right. Let's put that there. And you can get questions answered in that way. So we'll be taking enrollments until Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And yeah, and that's a good way to get in touch with us and ask any questions. So I think that's about it. Do you think so, Emily? Is that we covered it all?
Yeah. Well, thanks for everyone who joined us to enjoy herbal vinegars, and for your questions. And welcome to those of you who signed up. Yeah, like Rosalie said, I'm excited to meet you all. And yeah, I think that's it.
Great. All right. Well, we'll be in touch. We're going to send out an email that you'll probably get tomorrow, one way or another, of the replay of this. So if you want to replay any part of it, you can see that. We'll put the vinegar recipes in there too, just to make sure you get that. And yeah, and we'll be in touch these next few days as we get down to countdown for enrollment. So thanks everyone for being here. Cheers. Thanks, Emily. Thanks to Karen and Michelle behind the scenes, helping us out. Yeah. Wonderful. Well, bye everyone.
Everyone. Bye.